sir.
The next episode is gonna be best of 2018. You know, so y'all know how I do it. I get crazy with that shit. Next up, our next interview is the man to the left of me, Big Motherfucking Tone. In the motherfucking building.
What's good?
What's good, my G?
Just chilling, man. You know what it is.
How you feeling?
We here, man. Feeling great, man. It's great to be here with y'all, man. You know, I got mad love for y'all. Y'all are family at this point. You know, and it's just it's a beautiful thing to be able to kind of share a little bit about ourselves for the viewers and the listeners out there. You know?
So go ahead and tell the good people what you do, man. Both ways.
Well, first and foremost, just kind of that pay the bills. I've been managing a gym now for couple years now, since we've been in Denver pretty much. So I'm doing that. You know, it's cool, pays the bills, makes some good money. I'm technically the sales manager, so make a lot of commission and shit like that. You know, it's a good little gig, but that's just to pay the bills, put the roof over the head. You know, my real passion, my real dream and endeavor is as far as all of us here as well as the music. You know, that's what we grinding for. So as far as what my involvement really entails in Fifth Dimension, I am a songwriter, MC, you know, rapper, trying to get to the point where I can call myself a singer. Not quite yet, you know, but that's one thing that I want to develop in my repertoire. And then, you know, I'm a drummer as well. That's really how my music involvement in general got started, but I'm sure you'll probably ask some questions about that a little bit later on.
So. Let's dip into it, man. Tell me about your music background.
Well, music was really something that was in the household growing up. Without getting too in depth, my mom was she has her bachelor's degree in dance education, so she's always been huge into the arts. She actually performed for Showtime USA, which is a semi-professional theater troupe that performs, and so she would dance and sing in musicals and whatnot. She would perform, you know, classics, Oklahoma and stuff like that, you know. So I always grew up as a youngin' just kind of involved and around and listening and seeing a lot of musicals. You know, Sound of Music, West Side Story, My Fair Lady. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. It's crazy. So that was kind of one thing. My sister is also, she's older than me, almost by 5 years, and so she started playing piano at like the age of 8 or something like that. So I was just a youngin' and she was already playing piano in the crib. A few years later, she actually got into saxophone and she did alto sax as well. So, again, excuse me. At a very young age, I had a lot of exposure to music in general. My mother liked a lot of classic rock, a lot of oldies, Elvis. She liked Marvin. She liked Michael Jackson. She liked Stevie Wonder. My pops was more like the blues guy. You got a chance to hear a little bit of that from Danger earlier, and kind of some of the influence. He was a classic rock and a blues guitarist, and he could just shred that thing, man, like nobody's business. It was really crazy seeing him play. And he could also hold it down on bass, and he could also just shred the fucking harmonica, believe it or not, man. You don't meet a lot of cats these day and age that really play harmonica.
Yeah.
But that motherfucker could just make it cry as well.
He was just a musician.
For real, yeah, just a well-rounded musician, man. So it was cool seeing that. And you know, those of you that don't know me, you know, Pops was kind of locked up a little bit growing up. He got out while I was like in middle school, whatnot, and kind of had that influence through high school. So really, I didn't get a whole lot of his influence until, again, my middle school years and on. But that was a huge impact when he was there, and not only in my life, but like I said, Danger's life as well too.
Absolutely.
I started personally getting into percussion in 5th grade. My mother put me in band class at the school, whatnot, and real quickly it turned into something that it was evident that I had a little bit of talent in. I started to progress. My mother actually got to the point where she wanted to put me in private lessons because I was doing so well. So did that. I was blessed and fortunate enough to have that outlet. And ended up doing all the festivals and this, that, and the third, the list goes on. I did a lot of stuff. Had an opportunity when I was 15 to record for a Native American Grammy Award winner. Her name was Yolanda Martinez. Actually, true story. That was the first shit that I ever really got to say I did. And that was pretty cool. I actually laid that down on CD. I laid 6 tracks for her on the full drum set itself. So that was really my early involvement kind of in music itself. The whole rap thing wasn't really huge until a little bit later on.
That's fucking amazing, man, because when I meet you, you know, I don't really know shit about you, you know what I mean? And you just kind of start rapping, you know, and I'm like, okay, it's nice, you know. And then as I start getting to know you more, you know, I start finding out, I'm like, okay, so we got a real background, you know, which is crazy, you know, because it's so different from what I've done.
Right.
I mean, so coming up in that, what were some of your favorite, like, just albums or music growing up when you were a kid?
You know, the craziest thing, bro, believe it or not, is my first favorite artist of all time that was a personal favorite that I chose was actually Elvis Presley, true story. And I was like in 3rd, 4th grade, and for whatever reason, I was just, Jailhouse Rock, oh goodness, it's Heartbreak Hotel. Sorry, it's been a minute since I've listened to Elvis, but there was just certain, I don't know what it was, just his way with the ladies. My mother grew up in the church as well too. She grew me up in the church, and so he was really close to his mother. And just I don't know what it was. Something really kind of made me latch on to Elvis. First artist that I ever said. I distinctly remember it was 5th, 6th grade. I ended up kind of getting exposure to 50 Cent for the first time, and I distinctly remember hiding an album under the mattress. Because my mother was just totally anti all that, you know, and that was my first kind of exposure to some hip hop. Was my mother didn't approve of that. She was down with most other genres, but really not the hip hop rap scene. She just thought at that point, you know, she just thought it just wasn't really music for the household that she wanted me listening to. So that was kind of my first 50 exposure, you know.
So tell me about when you started rapping, man.
Well, you know, I once I started getting into high school athletics, is really when I started really getting more heavy into the rap scene personally. I like to use it to, you know, once you get into high school and you're varsity and you're traveling and whatnot, you got a lot of time on the bus. And for me, listening to music was that. I had the Walkman. Back when everybody had iPods, let that be known. I was so old school. I was still using a Walkman when everybody had an iPod or the iPhones when they was out. But I'd be there with my CDs and everything and just kind of getting hyped before the game or whatever. And that was when I really started latching on to hip-hop, because that was when I felt that I could relate to a lot of the words. And I loved the beats already themselves from the music, you know, just because I was a drummer, I was a percussionist, so I was already attracted to the beats. Started doing the first writing I ever did was class projects, to be honest. We had a couple of class projects like sophomore, junior year, or junior, senior year, I forgot what it was. With Danger, to be honest, man, that's how far back we go, and even past that as well, because we were in a band before. But and that's really what it was. I did like 2 different songs for school that I actually wrote as a little project, and that was that. You know, and we would get high and do stupid shit and freestyle, but there was nothing really serious that I was doing, you know. And I didn't really get into the rapping thing hard until I got back from my 2nd year at college. I came back home, and that was about 2015, I think you mentioned earlier.
You moved in this fall, right?
And that, well, I moved in 16. I moved in January
like a year,
16, but
you'd been back in Christmas for like a year.
Yeah, so I mean, I just don't want to talk too much because I don't know how much time we got. I mean, really, it's like Andy with Danger started feeding me beats. You know, yo, there's this beat I want you to rap on, whatever. He had connected with Ian. I hadn't really known Ian that well. I met him a handful of times through our probably junior, senior year in high school as well too. Didn't really know him that well, wasn't connected, you know. And then in between coming home from breaks in my freshman, sophomore year at college, I ended up kind of getting a little bit more introduced to him. And by then he was just only making beats on an iPad. He had GarageBand, and he'll get into his story after this, you know. I don't want to take away from that, because that was an insane progression that was completely all self-taught. The dude's a wizard, you know. But I just think, you know, Andy would send me some shit, yo, check this out, but it was nothing really serious I had wrote. I would come back, we would just get stupid high and just try to freestyle, and that was really it, to be honest, until I actually moved back. And by that time, after my 2nd year in college, going into my 3rd year, that was when really Ian, Icy Beats had really started, you know, and he had his actual first computer. He had if I'm not mistaken, the free version of Ableton, so it was a little bit limited, but he had the access to that, you know. And then shortly after that, Danger ended up going in and paying cash, laying down for a mic for Icy to have, and that was kind of the beginning of what it was. And by then, you was already connected, you was buzzing. And I'm the competitive type. Those that know me know that I'm very competitive, so it was one of those things where it's like I met you and I met Grizz, and I was so influenced, and I was just so bought into everything about it, the style and how y'all were able to do that. And it was one of more of those things where it was like, hey, you know, if you can do that, I can do that type thing, is really what it was at first. And that's what got me into it. And then just like the love that y'all supported was then, like, you know, it grew into like the little crew and clique. But at first it was more like a competitive, like I wanna do it if you can do it type thing, and it was kind of from there it took off.
Yeah, man, that type of shit defines you, man, you know what I'm saying? That makes you.
Yeah.
You know, and man, it's just dope to hear your story, you know, in depth. I found out a couple things I didn't really know either, man. Like,
For sure, man. And there's more in there, but like, you know, that's
Yeah.
for later. That's for later
Yeah.
interviews. You know,
I feel you. So tell me about when you found love of music. Because you said that you came up in the background, but did you really love it at that time, or was it just around you?
That's a beautiful question, bro. To me, growing up and even still, I personally found my identity in two areas, and that was through music, and that was through athletics or sports of some sort, physical activity. Those two things were always my outlets and stress relievers, you know, where I could let go of frustration and anger and raw emotion, and it was also two areas in my life that I was very good at, and I got recognition, and who doesn't like recognition? And that's really what it was for me. So that's those two areas I had always latched onto, and they were always passions and loves. The thing was, though, is that I think that I was you know, young enough and still aware enough of both of the feelings I had for those areas, but I chose to push away the music, believe it or not, because of my love for sports. Because my mother was always for the arts, but she never really understood. I felt she never really understood my passion for the sports, and she never really bought into. I had a chip on my shoulder because I felt like she didn't really think I was going to be successful as an athlete type thing. Like, it, you know, it wasn't something that was realistic, but she thought I could be in the arts. And so almost out of spite type thing, I almost tried to push the music and just be like, I don't want to do that shit, you know what I'm saying? And I want to do the sports because that was really what I, at that time in my life, was super passionate about. And I don't think it was until after I had came back from my second year of college that I really started recognizing the love. Again, by high school varsity athletics, I was already in love with music in some type of way because that was my feeder into getting hype for my games, which that was my life, exactly. So they were really mutually connected. But when it was just music itself, not those two things intertwined, I think it was when I was coming back on into my junior year of college, because that was the first year I had taken off of athletics. And that was really when I had first exposure to, wow, somebody can actually create something from nothing. I had never really had that exposure. I was more accustomed to learning and recreating something that was already on paper that you read and then learned, maybe even memorized and performed. You know, I had never really had exposure to just where you can create something. That was a beautiful thing for me. So
that's crazy. That's crazy. I would have never thought. You know what I mean? I'd have thought because it's so ingrained in you that you just loved it your whole life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you know, and like I said, I did in some type of way, but it was more like I literally made myself choose to love sports and physical activity more than the music, because that was also more the cool shit, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't cool to be a band geek, it wasn't cool to be a music nerd, it was cool to be the jock. The ladies fuck the jock, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's kind of what it was for me, and I'll be 100% honest, you know, and it wasn't until, for those that don't know, I can say it now shortly, it was like I took a year off of football. I thought football was done. I played in college those 2 years, and then I came back in my junior year. I actually had off of any athletics, and that was the first time since I was age 3 I hadn't done an organized competitive sport. And so I had nothing else to latch on to outside of music, and that, in addition to being surrounded by what you guys already had going on, was just took off from there.
Yeah, man, it's a beautiful thing, man, the way the world works, man. It's real dope because now we're here.
Yeah, man, it's crazy.
So before we end off, man, tell me about some of your favorite 2018 music.
I hate that you're asking this question, man.
I know.
Because there was so much.
That, but, hey, think about it for me, man. Think about all the shit I've listened to.
No, I can't even imagine, bro. I can't even imagine. There was a lot of great music that was put out this year. There was a lot of great music that I was put on to this year, a lot by you as well. I know you've been a huge influence for really all of us.
Yeah, every single one of us.
Just how much you really appreciate all that is music and all that is the art of music, you know. So I learn from you, and I get exposure every single day just to different artists that blow me away. But Mona Lisa was off the top one of my favorite hip hop. Yes. That's the best put together I think I've heard Joel ever, and that was one of the best, I think, lyrical. I'm a lyrical fan, and storytelling as well. I think he really executed a couple stories. Really was a beautiful project. Yeah, man. More recently, you put me on heavy to really all of Griselda. You know, I had never really fucked with them heavy. I knew who Conway was, I knew who Westside was for a little bit just because you had put me on, but I never really did a lot of digging into Griselda until this year.
Like a lot of people.
Tana Talk.
Oh, man.
Benny.
Amazing.
Oh.
Yeah, Benny's a butcher, dude.
Wild, bro.
That shit's nuts, man. That shit's nuts as well. I really liked, believe it or not, I really liked a lot of the Kanye projects that he produced earlier. I liked the Push project. I liked the Nasir project in particular. Didn't really get a chance to listen to Kissy Ghost or whatever it is with Kid Cudi.
I heard it. I'm not a huge Cudi.
It was decent.
Got you.
There's some joints. There's some joints.
There's a couple good.
There's even a joint on the Ye shit that I fucked with too, but
Definitely.
overall I didn't fuck with it.
Got you.
I love Tiana Taylor's project. That's on me shit.
Yeah, man. There's just been a lot of music. I mean, Cole shit, Drake shit. Even I'm not even a huge Drake fan, but for me to say that I fuck with his project, for those that know me. Yeah, that whole first half was rocking for me. There was a couple of tracks that I could have done without, but there was, for the most part, that shit was very well put together, very well executed. So, I don't know, man. It's just, you know me. I listen to a lot of kind of new stuff to kind of catch up, but I still listen to. Yeah, you can say that, bro.
Okay, so before I get into my next interview, I'm gonna go ahead and do a little bit of, self-promoting. I'm gonna tell you motherfuckers out there to check out the Boat music video. We put
Peep that.
bad boy
Oh, yeah.
out in December, and it was a real cool. It was my first visual, I've been rapping for 13 years, and I was like, damn, that's my first music video.
That shit was tight, too.
Everybody seemed to have liked it. I got a lot of positive feedback, so check it out on YouTube. Zoetic Boat. And check out behind the scenes for my Coming Mind, Show-5D. We're doing a lot of dope shit coming up, and just check it all out. So next up, my next interview is with none other than the motherfucking nucleus of 5D. I would be nothing without this guy.
It's true.
He's very modest. He's very humble. He doesn't think much of himself.
That's the MVP.
We big him the fuck up because he's really dope. He's produced all of our fucking albums.
Every single one,
Guy,
literally.
Our
Everyone.
homie, our motherfucking boy, Ice Beat. Gonna tell him what the fuck is good.
What's up, man? I appreciate the love, man. From all you.
We appreciate everything you do for us.
Hell yeah, man.
Hell yeah.
Go ahead and tell people a little bit about yourself. Where you from, man? What's going on?
Shit, Southern New Mexico, man. Las Cruces, where, the homies, all the homies, we grew up, shit.
Okay, so we're gonna tell people, what do you do, man? Both ways.
I mean, paying bills.
Yeah.
I grow some weed.
Hey.
I grow weed, man. Yeah. I work at a dispensary inside a grow. And, take care of plants,
He's a boss. He's a motherfucking boss.
Yeah, he be running that
He's
bitch.
a supervisor
bro,
up here in Colorado.
Yeah,
Up at one of the biggest dispensary companies. This guy's a supervisor, making sure that weed is coming
You
out.
wouldn't
nice
have
and
weed
fucking,
without him.
nice and fucking gas for all you weed lovers.
I contribute. I'm a contributor, man, to a large-scale operation.
Okay, so go ahead and tell people what you do regarding 5D.
Start from scratch, go and get vinyl records, and get creative with samples, and then think of beats to put on them, and who would sound good on them. That's kind of how this started.
I mean, he tries to say it's just production now. It's master, he does video.
Yeah.
He learned on my iPad.
That came later.
Yeah, but I mean,
Process.
these are the things that you do,
Definitely.
And
For sure.
our projects don't sound like shit.
He's done artwork too,
Regarding
for sure.
Nah, man.
He has editing, photo editing and shit. This dude's video editing. This dude's
Mix and mastering all the projects, not on top of putting in time with
sound
us.
engineering.
Yeah. He on top of adding his own, little flair on the, like most of the bass lines nowadays are all.
That's a good time. And,
Yeah.
I mean, started in 6th grade doing drums, percussion, just like tone, liked it a lot. I was not in love with music at all at that point, but I liked it a lot. 7th, 8th grade, and then my middle brother Sean was in high school band, marching band, and I just thought it was really cool, and you know, got into drums more and more and more. And I remember one homie showing me the Carter 3, and that's where it really snapped. I was like, all right, this is fucking, you know. And I love music a lot. I didn't love it at that point, but I enjoyed listening to like MF2 with my brother. You know, I mean, shit like that. But Lil Wayne, honestly, the Carter 3 was like the first time I was like, I want to like make music like this. I don't know why. I don't know. And it was production. It was production and the way he sounded. But you know, that's.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, me and James were.
I thought it was Blueprint. You always talk about Blueprint.
Blueprint was big in my life too, but this was before I was driving. Like, freshman year.
That changes when you got the whip.
Oh, that's
I mean,
that's a whole other avenue.
From there, I learned about a lot more things. Got into a lot more.
Sonically.
Yes, but the first thing that made me like, damn, I enjoy what's going on in the beats. You know what I mean? Like something was
click.
Yeah, and that's where me and James Mendieta, motherfucking man, we downloaded this weird app and made, I can't remember what beat it was, but we made like a remake of some random beat. It was a terrible remake. And then from there, like, we really didn't fuck with it that much. And then he got another, I don't know, Andy probably remembers this when we were fucking with like DM1.
Yeah, that was my iPad.
It was at Grover though, before.
Yeah,
James had that. And yeah, that's when we got it. The iPad, bro.
Yeah, Ian started all his production, at least since I've known him. We moved in at 2013.
It was, I think it was 2013.
It was like August 2013. Ian and I moved in together, and I had an iPad, and he came up was like, download this app, DM1. Right, we had the GarageBand. Yeah, we could play them at the same time on the iPad, and that's really where, like, as far as me witnessing, Gator coming up, that's like where he had my iPad more than I did. Yeah. It stayed with him for days sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. And that was a big part of it too. That was a huge step because I was just fucking with James's computer at this point. You know what I mean? Like having a good time with him, not thinking anything of it entirely. But.
Okay, that's interesting to hear, man. Shit, it's kind of crazy. Tell me about type of music your parents was playing in the crib.
I mean, my dad was huge into like Led Zeppelin, all the classic rock, honestly. Like, the Doors, Beatles. Weird Allman Brothers. He was just a typical dad music, I guess. Terrible. But yeah, he listens to some good music. He's got good taste. My mom is definitely more of like, she doesn't really have a music that she listens to. You know what I mean? I don't know. My mom just doesn't really. I don't know, she enjoys listening to music for sure, but I feel like high school band music or something like that. I mean, like she really has a passion for like listening to live music, anything live. She loves, yeah. I don't know. Otherwise, I feel like she plays maybe. If I had to guess her radio station, does she listen to maybe like 101 Gold or like all these?
That's a good station.
That's like the best one back home.
For those of y'all that don't know about cruises,
98.7,
like the same,
something like
time.
that. Yeah,
isn't that the Fox or something? 98.7 the Fox.
92.3. That's El Paso. All these stations, kind of same as 101 Gold.
Yeah, shout out, I guess. Yeah, shout out to all those radio stations.
That's dope, man. So you touched a little bit on the Carter 3 and the Blueprint. What were some other projects that kind of just like clicked for you and just like made you want to pursue music more other than that? Because I'm sure there was more digging you did after that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, from that point, it was just hanging out. I had so many friends that had so much influence in my music. You know what I mean? Like there were 15 homies at one point. They all had their own weird twist in their own music. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah, definitely. It was a great time, man. And that's the best part about like growing up in Las Cruces when we did was there were so many homies in the group. You know what I mean? That we just grew up with. It was just interesting. We all stayed friends for so long, which is crazy too. Like, you know what I mean? I feel like that's very rare. It's a very rare occasion where this many people can hold that solid of a friendship. You know what I mean? Interesting.
Yeah, you're right.
But a lot of good friends. Man. I mean, shout out all the Las
Seriously,
Cruces
yeah.
homies, honestly.
All of every single
All
one.
the Las Cruces homies, like a lot
Love.
of good people in Las Cruces.
It's all love.
Definitely. Well, what about some 2018 music? Now, what have you been about this last year?
Man. Well, I mean, first thing off the top of my head, Jameson is just his album just really was a big influence, honestly, and recently in my music. You know what I mean? But
My favorite.
and that's purely because of you. You know what I mean? You showed me him a few years ago. I think at the Sunset Grill.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, Isaac is like the guru of music for our group. He might not say it on his own show, so maybe it's up
He
to
knows
us.
all
So
that
like,
is music.
Well, if you listen to the Grain of Salt show, you know.
Yeah.
Shit, I'm
Isaac reflects all that onto us. So you know.
Thank you guys. Appreciate all that.
Also, Ian, sorry for interrupting your interview.
I already interrupted earlier.
Yeah, we
so
keep
it's okay.
doing-
I couldn't keep my mouth fucking
That's the
shut.
environment, man. That's the environment I want. So, what else 2018 besides Jameson?
I mean, that show was dope as fuck. That's what I wanted to mention from that story.
Oh yeah.
But
Concert.
that was really cool to see, you know. But let's see. I mean, Drake, Scorpion was really good. Who else dropped an album, man? Who else dropped an album? Joel Ortiz was really good. I mean, Dave East. But I've been bumping more earlier than was that 2015? No, it's 2016.
Was Kyrie Snow.
Yeah, that's definitely.
He put out a joint with Soft Beats.
That was good.
He put out Karma 2 this year too, right?
Right.
And
What
Beloved.
was that? You liked a couple joints on that
Was
shit.
that 17 or? I don't know.
Paranoia 2 was Paranoia 2 this 18 or was it 17?
I think that was
Paranoid 2 was.
I thought Paranoia 1 was 17 and Paranoia 2 was
I think it was this year.
18.
So with the
Damn. Well, either way, shout out to Dave East. I don't know if I can dropping music.
Word, bro. He been dropping.
That's dope. Yeah, man. So tell them about projects that you put out, projects you worked on, working on.
I mean,